driveway plowing, and we had a wonderful time. Mom's inside cooking, whatever. And then one day I dropped her off and put her in the house, closed the garage door and everything else. Dark, cold. And I went to the end of the driveway because the plow had come by, and I go there and shovel that patch. It's way in the end. It's about a tenth of a mile long. I get the video to show this and what exactly I do shovel. But I went to the end of the driveway and I pushed the snow out, and it's dark. It's late. I don't know what it was. It gets dark here early, 7, 8 o'clock. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I hear this voice. It's coming down the driveway. That's in the distance, this faint voice. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. I'm looking. What? No, it's dark. It's my little girl, my little Kristen. She's walking toward me. That little girl found a way to get out of the house. I still to this day don't know how she did it. She was 1 year old. She could barely walk. And she managed to find her way from the house all the way to the street in the dark. And I draw the connection. I say, you know what? There's got to be something programmed in that child to find her daddy. Got to be. There was no other explanation for that. But she did. Of course, I swept her up, took her back to the house. I sang another nursery rhyme. She went to bed, and everything was fine. Then my second daughter was born. Very interesting gal. And they have different characteristics, very different characters, but they love each other so dramatically. And we've taught them that, I think. But I went to her kindergarten day. I always remember my kindergarten. I don't know about you, but that's one day I always remembered. You know, it's a very harsh day. You know, the state says you got to have one household. Shouldn't be. It's got to be the mom or the dad, because the children got to have a consistent, stable environment, right? What does the state do? The child's barely out of the womb, barely, learning to walk, and just, coming to her own. We've got a very comfortable home. You could be married and the best, most getting along couple there is out there. What do? They grab that child, rip them out, put them on a bus, take them to some remote place, and they put them in this institutional setting full of strangers. And they place them in the care of that person for 5, 8 hours a day. You mean to tell me you can do that? Something is wildly, impairing a child's domestic, stable environment, and yet you can't give a father equal time with his child? The state's that's a big paradox, a great hypocrisy. But I went to kindergarten because I know that was important, and so my little Cassandra's sitting there in the library in the school, and she's sitting in the middle with a bunch of people around her, and they have moms and dads, principally mothers. But I came in, all the parents were at one side, dealing with their teachers and stuff. The librarian, or whoever she was, the monitor, was sitting trying to keep the little ones preoccupied with the chalkboard there. And I went and I just snuck in. I didn't really care much what the parents were going on, because being a non-custodial parent, I don't really care much what you got to say in school. That is the way it works, by the way. But in any event, and I went and snuck around that, and I wanted to go out, and there was a reason for my being there. I said to myself, you know what? I'm sacrificing a career here. I'm sacrificing everything here. Is this worth it? Is there this parent-child relationship? What is it about my youngest that might mean something? Well, is it important that I'm here? So I snuck up to the side of the room, and I looked, and it got to the point where she could see me. She was kind of like, looking down, wasn't, and kind of sad, is the way I could picture it. But I got up along the side, and the minute she saw me, she went wild. I mean, she was loud. She disrupted the teachers, the moms and dads, and she just said, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy. Those are two experiences that I put in my lawsuit to flesh out what we are fighting about. Each of us have those stories. And we know there's something more to parent-child relationship than money transfers. Because let's face it, if you can get money to transfer, you can tax that. They had a standing thing in New York State for years that if it moves, they can tax it. If it moves, they're going to get it. And that's what's going on here. So make no mistake what you're up against. You're up against a multi-billion-dollar industry. But never lose sight of what we are doing here. And the more that we get together, the more that we understand the system, and the more we are vocal about it, the more likely we are going to see change here. Because over the years, government, and remember something before you lose it, and I've seen it everywhere I go, it's amazing the people who are coming up to me. I feel very rewarded what I am doing today, much more than those hundreds of thousands of dollars in verdicts and judgments. And don't get me wrong, it's nice to have it. But I feel down here a bigger reward than I ever did with the biggest lawsuits I won. And sadly, many lawyers will never know that. I could tell you a lot of stories about lawyers. And a lot of good lawyers out there. This isn't an attack on lawyers, but it is an attack on what they're doing here, because we are exploiting children for money. It's bad, and it is a gold mine. If you can get parents fighting over their children, exploiting the original and natural law of nature, you are going to have the gold mine you'll ever know. Because what do lawyers do? They manufacture controversy. That's their stock in trade. Some people sell whatever they may be, cars. They may sell clothes. Lawyers sell controversies. Make no mistake, understand what you're doing when you go in there. That's why mediation is so important. That's why we need to go forward. That's why, but if you're going to deal with the system, understand it. And at least if you're going to suffer from it, you'll be better educated and you'll be able to handle it much better. And I think it's very important that when you go in, the way the system is now, it's designed to create those fights. And it's our obligation to flesh out that parenting right and push back, as we've always done in this country, and say, enough is enough. I started this particular phase of my efforts in November when I filed that federal court lawsuit. We had a meeting at the Plaza Hotel in December for planning of this. Some of the same people here in the audience I see are here today. And then we moved on to this convention, and we hope to make a statement in Washington. What my plan is here is to take this testimony. I'm very happy that the folks from New York and Glenn and Chris and others came down. I thank Tim for flying all the way up from North Carolina. All you good folks who helped us make this all possible, all you speakers, you visitors. I have a special thanks to Heather Dunn, who's not only my girl, but she's been at my side right through a lot of thick and thin. This couldn't have been done without her. She needs a round of applause. John's been, there from the beginning. Most importantly, of course, my daughters. That's what it's all about, this part of my life. But in any event, it's important that you all did this, because from here we must use our energies to get this message out. We've got to get out to the legislatures and the courts. I'll do my part in the courts as best I can. It's become a full-time commitment for me. For you folks who are more legislative-minded, Greg Fisher and others, keep doing what you're doing. For you folks, you celebrity types, keep doing what you're doing. But we need to network more. We need to be in touch a little bit more. We need to get organization. Until we do that, it's going to remain the same. Because remember what government's always done. We talk about, and I'm going to conclude on this point,